What's your number 9 team?
My number 9 is Georgia.
Okay.
I have Georgia this low for very similar reasons to Dan. They're boring to watch, and I don't really like them.
Hello and welcome back to the Fourth and Long-Winded Podcast. This is episode number 16. We're going to be doing some power rankings today. Cody and I have set our own top 10, possibly top 15. We'll see how we're feeling. And we're going to give you that later today, and then we're also going to make our playoff picks. But first, let's get into a couple of news items from this past week. So I think this came out today. I don't know if you saw this, but Built Bar LLC has decided or signed an NIL deal with all of the walk-ons at BYU.
Yes.
So it's really nice because it's basically like they're getting a scholarship. They're paying for all of their tuitions. There's like 36 or I can't remember the exact number, but there's 30-something walk-ons, and all of them are getting this NIL deal, and they're all getting their tuition paid, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I think that NIL, like, so many people are complaining that NIL is going to, like, ruin college football. I think it's going to make, like, as I'm looking at this, like, that's a cool story to me.
Yeah.
That makes college football better to me. Like, if we're getting more people to be able to play college football, to advance their academics, actually be in college and play the sport, aren't we going to see, like, better players arise? Because,
better people,
you know, there's probably a ton of players that just, like, don't have enough of the, like, I don't know, the film, and so they didn't get recruited or they weren't seen, because that's all recruitment is. Like, sure, it is the really good guys get seen, obviously, but you could have a guy that could be greatly developed go unnoticed. I mean, some great quarterbacks in the NFL went to much smaller schools and no one had ever heard of them.
Like Josh Allen went to Wyoming. It was his only D1 offer.
Joe Flacco.
Yeah. There's I mean, yeah. It's
so like that's really cool to me. And it's a great recruiting feature for BYU. They can say, hey, we can't offer you a scholarship, but this has happened to our players.
Yeah.
So good for BYU. I mean, that's going to help their program a lot too.
If I'm a walk-in, that just is like, if I'm a walk-on, like, that's a reason I'm going to choose BYU over anywhere else if they take care of their walk-ons.
Straight up.
All right. I believe this came out today. Maybe it was yesterday. But Pac-12 announced that games canceled due to COVID, they will be forfeited. And they kind of made a clarification that it's going to be under the commissioner's discretion to decide if it's a forfeit or not, and he's basing it on if it's their own fault, quote unquote. If it's the own fault of the university, that's and it's up to the discretion of the commissioner. So that seems a little weird to me. The commissioner can be like, nope, this one's your fault. But no, this one we're going to replay that one later in the season.
So I knew that the Pac-12 had said that. However, I think the idea of giving the commissioner discretionary power is idiotic. You need to have a system.
Yeah.
Because then you have the same thing that happened, and it happened last year where Ohio State got the Big Ten to change the rules, and it would have been Indiana in the Big Ten championship
Very
game.
true.
They all agreed to the rules, and then Ohio State's all like, oh, well, we're better, but we've only played 6 games. And they made the playoffs because of it. And they were very good, and they beat Clemson handily. And yes, were they one of the best teams? Yes, they were.
Yeah.
But to some degree, that's not fair. Like, what's the point in playing?
What's the point of
I've said this point many times, but like, and I know I kind of went on a slippery slope there, but I feel like that's exactly what's going to happen. We're going to see the commissioners see like, oh, Oregon had to forfeit a game. But it wasn't their fault.
Yeah, exactly. That's what the point I was going to make. like this could lead to like manipulation of how of the seasons, to like the outcome of the season.
100%.
It's a
100%.
little sketchy from
Now,
what I've
so here's the thing about this as well, and I'm not going to venture into politics too much with the vaccine, but frankly, I don't think that it should be a political conversation. We've hit a point that, well, if you don't have the vaccine, you know the risks. You've been told, you've been educated, you've been warned.
1,000 times.
These players, if they don't get the vaccine, that's fine. But guess what? If they don't have enough people to play because they didn't have enough people vaccinated, then I'm okay with them forfeiting the game.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that being counted as a full loss and a win for the other team.
I agree. I'm on the same page with that. All right, moving on. Another NIL deal, pretty big one. DJ Uyunglele nailed it, and Dr. Pepper have partnered for an NIL deal.
I didn't see this one.
He's going to be part of the whole Fansville marketing campaign that they have throughout the season. He's going to be in those commercials. But he becomes the first active college football player to be a member of these Dr. Pepper commercials. So that's pretty cool.
That's going to be really neat.
So I have two more things. I have one kind of funny thing, and one sad thing. Which you want to do sad first or funny first?
Yeah, sad first, and move to a funny note.
We've lost a legend in this past week. We lost Bobby Bowden. I just want to talk about this for a little bit. I think a lot has been said about how great a coach, how great of a guy he was. So just kind of wanted to give him a mention because he deserves it. He's one of the best coaches in the history of college football. He did great things, and then was it the late 80s and 90s with the Florida State team. So
I think he coached from like the 70s.
Yeah.
At Florida State.
Yeah.
I think it was like 74 through 99 or some ridiculous amount of years.
He coached through the 2000s because it was when Jimbo took over, and I want to say like 08, 09, something like that. So he was coaching almost into the 2010s.
But, yeah, so he was the head coach from 1976 through 2009.
Yeah, long ass time.
And the thing is, like, Jimbo Fisher is a great coach. And definitely, like, that 2013 I think it was 2013 they won the national championship.
Mm-hmm.
Like, definitely won that on his own, like, merits. But some of those guys were people that Bobby Bowden recruited.
At least, like, Bobby Bowden was probably, like, the first one reaching out to them at the time.
Yeah, no, that's exactly the case. So you can put that legacy on him. I mean, he's the reason Florida State is what it is. I recently, I listened to another podcast called Cover 3 from CBS Sports.
No free ads, especially for competitors.
Well, it's a pretty good podcast. And one of the guys that hosts it actually played for Bobby Bowden. He was a quarterback.
Danny Cannell.
Yep, Danny Cannell. And just talked about how it isn't like today where, like, Florida State wasn't what it is today when he started. Florida State was more of like a Boise State-esque team and would just go play whoever wanted to play them. Like, oh, you want to come play us? Sure. And then it was a team that you didn't actually want on your schedule, but you wound up with them on your schedule and you lost.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how he brought them to where they were, brought them to the ACC that didn't want to add them.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of pressed his will and made some things happen and won a lot of games along the way.
Yeah, some of those Florida State teams in the 90s, those are some of the, I think, I did the top 10 dynasties of all time, I believe. I think I did that video. That was a couple months ago. Go check that out if you haven't seen it. But I believe the 92 through like 99 Florida State Seminoles were pretty highly ranked on that list, and it's one of the greatest teams of all time. So yeah, rest in peace to Bobby Bowden.
Rip.
But we'll finish the news of the week on a high note, on a happy note. We did retweet this on our Twitter account. The 2021 college football all-name team. It was courtesy of Jim Weber on Twitter. We retweeted it, so go check that out. But I do have it pulled up here. So we're going to run through the offense, the defense, and then the punter and kicker real quick. Starting quarterback of the all-name team, General Booty, Tyler Junior College. Running backs, Kavose Smoke, Kentucky, and Tank Bigsby, Auburn.
Oh yeah, that's the name. That's my name.
That's a good one.
That's the name you want.
Tight end, John Michael Gillenborg. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that right. John Michael Gillenborg. It's like Jake Gyllenhaal's weird, unrelated. I don't know. It's not really.
Yeah.
He's a Wyoming kid. 2 wide receivers. I just looked at this guy's name. I hadn't seen it since I first looked at this. It's Fat Watts. Fat Watts with a PH. It's Fat with a PH. He's a wide receiver for Tulane. Other wide receivers, Clemson, Aju. That's his name, Aju.
Maybe Gravy.
Yeah.
If they don't call him Gravy in the locker room, they're doing something wrong.
Offensive line, we got 5 offensive linemen. Brodarius Ham from Auburn. Dylan Deathridge from Western Michigan. Bear Hunter, that's his legitimate name. Bear Hunter.
I've seen that one.
Appalachian State.
Yep.
He's got to be a beast
fitting,
of a man.
Very fitting.
I was gonna say
very fitting that he's Bear Hunter at App State.
Yeah, I gotta look up how big this guy is because in my brain he's like 6'9", 400 pounds. But I don't know if that's actually
Maybe
true.
we can put a picture of him in the video.
He's only 6'2", 295 pounds. Slightly disappointing, but he's still a large man. All right.
Larger than I am.
Yes. Another offensive lineman, kind of on the opposite scale from Bear Hunter, is Gentle Williams from Cal. And then
for Cal State, I hope he's not gentle.
I mean, as an offensive lineman, I feel like you can't be gentle.
Yeah.
Whatever. Final offensive lineman, Dodge Saucer, Iowa State. It's a pretty nice name. All right, moving over to the defense. If there's any kids listening, I'm about to curse. Defensive lineman, Shittasilla. Boston College. Shittasilla.
All right.
Next D lineman, Fish McWilliams, UAB.
Fish.
Like, you ever see the Key and Peele sketch where they run through?
Oh yeah, that's one of my favorite sketches of all time.
This is giving me vibes.
Inyon Construction Noise.
Yeah.
Lewis.
Yep. Next one probably could be a part of that sketch. Octavius Oxidine, Kentucky.
I'm pretty sure that is I'm almost positive that they saw that and then named their kid.
Yeah.
Octavius Oxidine.
Yep.
That had to have happened.
Yep. The next one's pretty good too. Big Cat Bryant from UCF.
Oh my god.
That's the D line. Moving on to linebackers, 3 linebackers. Chief Borders, Florida. Bumper Pool from Arkansas.
No bumper.
Power Eccles from North Carolina. That's their linebackers. Defensive backs, we got 4 of them. Storm Duck from North Carolina. It's an interesting one. Smoke Monday from Auburn. Smoke Monday.
Auburn's taking the all name honors here. I think that's the 3rd or 4th name I've heard.
1, 2, 3 from Auburn. We got 2 from Kentucky and 2 from North Carolina. So there's your most represented teams. 2 more for the defensive back. Buck Coors from Wyoming. And then final, New Zealand Williams. So his name is literally a country, and he's from San Diego State.
Okay.
All right. Finally, the punter, Georgopoulos from UMass.
I've heard that one before.
And then
unfortunately, he's going to be doing a lot of punting this year.
Of punting. Busy man, that Georgopoulos. And the kicker for this team is Connor Assalley
Doesn't he play for Michigan?
Iowa State.
Ah,
Kicker for
that's
Iowa
right.
State is Connor
That's
Ass
right.
Alley.
Yeah.
All right, so there's your all name team for the 2021 college football season. If you're a fan of any of those teams, go get yourself a jersey
New
made.
Jersey.
Yeah,
I might get an Ass Alley jersey.
that's a pretty good one.
I'm standing Iowa State this year.
I like the Smoke Monday one, but whatever. All right, let's take a little break and we'll move into our power rankings for this upcoming season.
All right. So to start this off, what we've done is we've each created our list of 1 to 15 teams. I've created mine 1 to 25, but I only wrote like an actual statement on 15 teams. So I think we'll do 1 to 15.
I only did 15
And
because I intentionally didn't want to put Utah down.
right, of course, yes. And BYU.
I just had to mention Utah so I could put that in the tags so that when people search it, they find it.
Yeah, and BYU also did not make the
no,
did not make
no.
this cut for me. It might have for you. I don't know. But so we'll start off at 1. Other than the first one, we've not talked about any of these, so it's going to kind of be a natural conversation between us. But I know both of us have the same first one, and that is Alabama. We both have them ranked number 1 in our power rankings. I think I'll kind of start this by basically saying there's not much to say.
Nope.
We know they're going to be good.
Just reload.
Just despite the fact that they are one of the worst for returning production, it doesn't matter. They're going to be good. Nick Saban is a magician, and there's no question that they are one of my favorites to be at least in the playoff.
Yep, that's yeah. There's not a lot of shock. There's not a surprise here. Alabama's number 1. They're reloading again. Yeah, they lost a whole bunch of starters. Lost 3 Heisman finalists from a year ago, and their play caller they lose Steve Sarkisian, but they're bringing in Bill O'Brien. So it's not even really like that's a downgrade. If anything, that might even be a slight upgrade at a play caller position. But obviously Bryce Young coming in to start this year. He's going to be first time starter. They're also going to have guys that you probably don't know right now on the offense, but I guarantee by the end of the year you'll remember the names like Brian Robinson and John Mechie. So, yeah, it's Alabama. They're good.
Yep. So I guess for number 2, Dan, do you want to say your first team?
Yeah, I'll go first. So these two teams are just kind of on a tier on their own. I have Clemson at 2. Clemson in my mind is on that Alabama level of just we have all these guys drafted, but we'll just reload. Like it doesn't. We don't need a year to kind of like rebuild and reset everything. We just pop in the next clip and reload. They got DJ Uiagalelei, who unlike Bryce Young does have a couple starts last year where he filled in for Trevor Lawrence. They get a new running back, Will Shipley, who's gonna try and take the place of Travis Etienne. They do have a very good defense. Their defensive line is really good. Their secondary is very experienced. So yeah, I think these two are pretty easy. 1 Alabama, 2 Clemson.
I do not have Clemson at 2.
Okay, all right.
I have Ohio State at number 2.
Fair enough.
And I'm not thrilled personally to have Ohio State in this position. But the fact of the matter is they just have a lot of dudes. More 5 stars than basically their entire conference.
Yeah.
And that just bodes well for success. They're talented everywhere. They're just honestly, I would say on the same level as Clemson and Ohio State. And I gave Ohio State the edge here because I think that Clemson loses a little bit of talent, and I don't think they have recruited as well as Alabama, and I think that Ohio State recruits better than Clemson. I also don't want to sing the praise too much, but I think that Ryan Day is a better coach than Dabo Swinney.
It's fair enough. I think it's an argument, but I'm not going to chastise you for saying that.
Yeah. unless something goes catastrophically wrong, this team is also in the playoffs. I hope it goes catastrophically wrong.
Fair enough.
If I'm being honest,
I think
I hope
both
it
feel
happens
that
for all
way.
these teams in the top 5. But you know,
Yeah. If
um,
we're trying to be honest and tell you how we really view things, I don't have Ohio State that high, but I can see why you have them that high.
yeah. Do you want me to do the?
Yeah, let's flip back and forth. So you go
All right,
go first.
all
On
right.
your
So
third
flipping
team.
to number 3, I also don't have Clemson at number 3.
Okay.
I have Texas A&M.
Okay, interesting. I like this so far. I feel like we're gonna have a lot of differences other than number 1.
I think we're gonna have some differences. So Texas A&M, to me, was a better team to be in the playoffs than Notre Dame last year.
That's probably fair.
I looked at their. I mean, they're the only team that scored as many points on Alabama as anybody. They scored the most points on Alabama all year long. And if you know, if you're looking at just that, Alabama winning the national championship and they're the team that played them the best, they're probably up there.
Yeah.
They didn't lose. They lost some talent, but they're still, I think it was like 76% of their production is returning, which is pretty darn good.
It's basically everybody except for their starting quarterback is returning, essentially.
Yeah. I mean, it's a really large amount of talent returning. I think Texas A&M is going to be a little juiced about Texas joining the SEC. I think they're going to want to try to get that SEC championship before Texas ever even has a shot to. So I think that this is Texas A&M's year. If there's someone that is going to beat Alabama, it's, in my opinion, going to be Texas A&M.
That's fair.
I think Jimbo Fisher is also a very good coach.
Fair enough.
So
I can't argue with that. I can because I don't agree with you, but we'll not get into that. My number 3rd team.
You won't win an argument.
I mean, who knows? My 3rd team is the Oklahoma Sooners. So my 3, 4, and 5, I have very, very even, and we'll get to my 4 and 5 when we get to those. But the reason I put Oklahoma at the top of this tier is because they have the best quarterback of any of those 3 teams. Spencer Rattler is one of the 2 best quarterbacks in the country this year. It's probably him and Sam Howell at North Carolina. So that's kind of the reason I decided to put them at 3. They're going to have just an outstanding offense again this year. I think it's going to be a bounce back year. Last year was kind of Spencer Rattler's first year, and it's COVID year. I think he breaks out this season and has a Kyler Murray, Baker Mayfield, Jalen Hurts-esque season this year, and is in the Heisman conversation for most of the season. And I think their defense is going to be pretty solid. So really, the only thing they have to avoid is losing to Kansas State for a 3rd straight season. But other than that, I think Oklahoma is going to be really good this year. And that's why I have them at 3.
All right. Well, I started 3, so you go to 4.
All right. Number 4, I have the Ohio State Buckeyes. I have Ohio State at number 4. And the reason I have them behind Oklahoma is the quarterback situation. They are going to have a new quarterback coming in. I don't trust. We're all talking in very minute differences here. Where I trust Alabama with a brand new freshman quarterback to be just as good as they always are, more than I trust Ohio State. I'm not saying Ohio State's going to be terrible. Ohio State's still going to be really good. But if we're examining these finite differences between these teams and this stupid little power rankings thing, then I'm going to put Ohio State back because I don't trust their quarterback as much because I haven't seen him. That being said, it looks like it's going to be C.J. Stroud as their starting quarterback, who's I think he's a former 5-star. Yeah, and
I don't know though. It could be the new freshman.
It could be. Oh, Quinn Ewers? No.
At some point.
Quinn Ewers? Not this season. I don't see that happening this season. They have.
I don't know.
I mean,
we don't know.
You never know. Yeah,
I mean, so here's the thing. Here's the thing, though. Ohio State. I'm going to go on a little bit off of the power rankings. Ohio State loses a game early. Okay, let's put him in to keep him here because we don't want to have another Joe Burrow.
See, but they have another 5-star that's going to be their back, Kyle McCord. I think they go.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That quarterback room is loaded. Someone will leave in the next 2 years.
Oh, yeah, that's guaranteed. But but it's a blessing and a curse because it's like, yeah, you're probably not going to keep all of them, but say CJ Stroud comes out of the first 3 games and he's just not very
Sure.
good, and it's like, all right, well, we'll throw this other 5-star quarterback and Kyle McCord out there, and if not him, we got another 4-star and Jack Miller that we can throw out. Like, it's an
Yep.
embarrassment of
No, it's
riches.
loaded. It's a loaded room,
They also
and
have like the best wide receivers duo in the country, and Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson. So I think Ohio State's gonna be really, obviously, really good.
all of those are reasons that I had them at number 2.
Yeah,
Um,
I
this is where I
just not as
put
confident
Clemson.
in the quarterback situation as I am in some of the others above them.
That's fair. This is where I put Clemson. And I put Clemson here once again. Dan mentioned, this is minute differences. I think, honestly, probably my top 7 teams, I don't think there's all that much difference between them. I think they're all on a very, very high level. But I have Clemson here because of how badly they got beat by Ohio State last year in the playoffs. And they're losing guys. They lose Trevor Lawrence, who's what was he there? 3-4 years?
3.
Starter? 3-year starter?
Yeah,
I
started as a
mean,
true freshman.
and DJ whatever.
Uiagalelei.
Yes, Uiagalelei. So I think he has 1 start, right? Or 2 starts.
2 starts. Notre Dame and Boston College.
Boston College.
Yeah.
And he almost lost to Boston College.
Should have beat Notre Dame, if we're being honest.
I mean, should have, but didn't. So he's 1-1.
First career
Could have been 0-2. Not saying he's a bad quarterback. He's an excellent quarterback. You can tell he is. And they're going to be good. I don't trust them as much as I trust the quarterback situation at Ohio State.
Fair enough.
I think it's going to be a better situation for Ohio State. I feel like when you have a pick of riches, you're just in a better position.
Yeah.
Which Clemson also does have a pick of riches in all these other positions. I have more confidence that Ohio State can figure it out before Clemson does.
Yeah.
And if they have to play each other, I have more confidence that Ohio State's going to beat Clemson.
That's how I did a lot of this, is like, if I took this team against this team, who do I think would win right now? So, all right.
I did that too.
You want to move on to your number 5?
Yeah. So my number 5 is Oklahoma. And I didn't want to put them in the top 4 because, frankly, they always disappoint me. I think having a second-year Spencer Rattler is going to improve the team quite a bit from last year. I still think they're probably going to end up losing to Kansas State because for some reason Kansas State just figures out how to beat Oklahoma, and then Oklahoma wakes up in the third quarter and they're like, wait, what's the score? We're losing by 20? How did that happen? And then they start trying. There's a reason they got left out last year, and it was because, frankly, they started out really bad.
Yeah.
It was because of poor play from Spencer Rattler.
Yeah.
And a lack of defensive discipline. They're going to be the best team in the Big 12 this year, I think. But that's because of talent, not because they will be the most disciplined or the best coached team.
I don't think you
it's
can really
simply because of talent.
Yeah.
That they will be in the spot that they are. And I don't think that talent gets you everywhere because Alabama has a lot of talent, but I don't think that they have significantly more talent than many more teams.
They do have more the talent. Best coaching staff in the country.
But exactly, they have the best coaching. They're the most disciplined. I mean, there's a reason that Alabama is so good.
Yeah.
And it's not just because they get the best players.
Yeah.
Because a lot of these teams get the best players.
Yep. All right, my number 5 team is the Texas A&M Aggies. I have them in number 5. Like I said before, this 3-4-5 Oklahoma, Ohio State, Texas A&M. I'm really comfortable putting them in any order you'd like. I think they're pretty even. Like I said, the most trustworthy quarterback at this point in time is Spencer Rattler, so that's why I put Oklahoma at 3. Texas A&M, very similar to the Buckeyes in terms of they're loaded with talent up and down the roster. They have playmakers, NFL talent everywhere, but both of them are losing their starting quarterback from a year ago, and are bringing in a new guy, and it's really kind of like, yeah, they're a really good recruit and they should be doing really well, but you just don't really know that until you see it on the field. So
I think that's a really good point. Um, so I think that we can move on to 6.
yeah, I'm cool with that. I'll go ahead and go.
Okay.
At number 6, I feel like I kind of just had to put them in here because I did Georgia. I put Georgia at 6. I don't love it. I think I've said before I hate watching Georgia play on offense. I'd rather rip my eyes out. But that did change towards the end of last season as JT Daniels, transfer guy from USC, came in, and that offense really actually started to look like it was capable of keeping up with some of the better teams in the country. They're still going to have that defense. They lost a
I'm
lot
pretty
of.
sure he graduated though, didn't he?
Nah, JT Daniels is back this year.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
But lost my train of thought. Defense. They lost a lot of starters on defense to the draft, but they were very big in the transfer portal and the transfer market. So they got a cornerback coming in from Clemson, another one from West Virginia. So they're retooling on the fly. So the defense should be really good as always, but it's all about the offense. We'll see how far the offense takes them. So I have them at 6.
Sure. So my next team will not come as a shock to anyone who has watched this podcast, but I have North Carolina at number 6.
JT Daniels definitely didn't graduate, by the way. I just looked it up.
My apologies. I read something earlier about some SEC quarterback being like a Mac Jones-esque player, and that's why I thought that.
Gotcha.
Because it was like a 4-year like backup, and I can't remember who also has a 4-year backup, but someone in the SEC has one, and they're expected to be pretty good. I guess I don't know. I read it was a weird thing.
Florida?
No, I don't know. Okay. It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
So North Carolina. I think that this team could challenge Clemson for the ACC title this year. I think that, if I'm being honest, they're a year removed from being my favorite.
A year away. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, a year away. I think next year is the year that they're going to be really well off, especially defensively. I think they need another year to develop those defensive guys, but they've got some talent, and it's going to be very interesting to watch them. Also, I think that I agree with you. Sam Howell's one of the best quarterbacks that we're going to see this year, and that offense is really fun to watch and exciting and hard to stop. So I think North Carolina is my number 6.
I'm honestly surprised that you don't have a number 1 the way you talk about North Carolina.
Well, I'm trying to be realistic here.
All right.
So my next team,
number 7.
I have Iowa State at number 7.
All right.
This team by far will be the most disciplined team in the Big 12. They will win games close, which is not something that anybody in the SEC does. Like close and low scoring, because they're the only team that will be able to do it.
Yeah.
They're equipped to do that. They make very few mistakes. Matt Campbell has them well coached, and it's going to be a dangerous team. I think that, they have a shot maybe to beat Oklahoma. I think Oklahoma edges them because of talent.
Yeah.
But I mean, they did run Texas and Oklahoma out of the conference. So I don't know. I feel good about Iowa State.
That's fair. At number 7, I have the Oregon Ducks. I am actually like low-key pretty excited about. I have some Pac-12 bias this year. I like USC a lot, and I like Oregon. This Oregon team, what Mario Cristobal has turned them into, is kind of like a polar opposite of what we think Oregon, like Chip Kelly era Oregon, as. Their defense, they're probably one of the best defenses. They're definitely one of the best top 3 or 4 defenses in the country, including the best defensive player in the country, possibly just the best player, period, and Kayvon Thibodeau. He's going to be the number 1 pick.
Dimmadome, owner of the Dimsdale Dimmadome.
No, not him. This is Kayvon Thibodeau. He is just a beast of a man, and I don't understand how any offensive lineman stops him. But anyways, so their defense is just outstanding. And it's really going to be a question mark on offense, and it's all going to be on the shoulders of newly installed starting quarterback Anthony Brown and running backs C.J. Verdell and Travis Dye. Just if they can make a playoff push, it's gonna their offense is gonna need to be above average at the very least because their defense
Pretty
is
good vote of
really good.
confidence for the Ducks.
I like what Cristobal's done there.
Go on to 8.
Did you do 7? I don't even remember. What was your?
Yeah, I started 7.
Oh, that's right. All right, 8. I have the North Carolina Tar Heels at 8. Cody obviously just talked about them. Sam Howell, he's going to be in the Heisman conversation all year. I have a question. Is this the best North Carolina football team that has ever existed? Like, I'm just kind of curious. Definitely in our lifetime.
Yeah.
I don't know if they were ever very good at football before.
No. Before Mac Brown, the first time they weren't good. Yeah. They didn't care about it. It was basketball only.
Yep.
And then Mac Brown was there, and then they left, and they were like, oh, maybe we should have like invested in football while he was here, and he would have stayed because he probably would have stayed.
Yeah. But they do. So Sam Howell's back. They're returning all 5 starting offensive linemen, which is really good. Their problem last year was defense. They do have 5-star cornerback Tony Grimes and a 5-star defensive end and Keyshawn Silver. So hopefully that defense will continue to get better. And like I'm kind of on the same page with you. They're kind of a year away from being considered one of these powerhouse college football teams that you really are threatening for the playoff every single season. But they're going to be a dark horse playoff team this year. They just need to avoid bad losses like they had last year at Florida State, Virginia.
I'm just saying, about 2 years ago, I called this. To anyone that would listen, I said that in the next 4 to 5 years, North Carolina is going to be competing for an ACC championship, if not a national title.
If only we had
and they're in that conversation now.
If only we had a podcast 4 years
2 years ago.
So it would be on
I could
the record.
Be banging that drum.
Yeah.
And I was not a North Carolina fan before Mac Brown returned, but Mac Brown coming back.
I've known you for 15, 20 years. No, not 20. 15 years. Never once been a North Carolina fan until now.
Mac Brown, man. It's the Mac effect. All right, so number 8 for me, I have Cincinnati here.
Okay.
I have Cincinnati here not because so a lot of people would say that I have them here because of my team, but if this were any other group of 5 team in the same situation that Cincinnati is in, this is where I would have them. If it was UCF, if it was Boise State, if it was Western Michigan in the same situation, I would have them here. They may not have the star power that some of these other teams have. They straight up don't. But it's a well-coached team.
Very well coached.
They get the talent out of the players. In the past, like the past 3 years, what I've noticed from them is that mistakes have cost them points, and that's actually what's led to them losing any of the games that they've lost, which I think they've lost like 5 or 6 games in the last 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
So not very many. And it's like tackling mistakes and things that you can work on and get better with. So it could hurt them this year if they don't improve on that. However, if the offense looks anything like it did last year, towards the mid to end of the season, this team is dangerous. Their schedule is favorable. They go to Indiana and Notre Dame back to back. So that's a tough 2 weeks. And I think if they win both of those games, they win every game this year.
Mm-hmm.
I think if they win those 2 games,
there's really 3 tough games. There's the Indiana Notre Dame games, and then UCF. That's the
and I don't even think UCF is that tough of a game this year because they just don't have a ton of talent like they normally do.
But they got Gus Malzahn.
They have Gus Malzahn. I'm not dissing that. I think it's just going to take a little bit of time for Gus to get his stuff into place.
That's fair.
There. So yeah, and they also favorably don't draw Memphis during the regular season. So I think that we could see them play Memphis or UCF or maybe even Tulsa again in the conference championship. And I'm picking Cincinnati over all of them. I don't know.
I
If they win Notre Dame and Indiana,
I have
that's
I have Cincinnati farther on my list somewhere, so I will give
okay.
more of my comments when we get to there. But
Okay.
what's your
So
number 9 team?
my number 9 is Georgia.
Okay.
I have Georgia this low for very similar reasons to Dan. They're boring to watch, and I don't really like them. Also, they have seemed to have like amazing talent, but not done anything with it. And frankly, if you're not throwing the ball a ton and doing things with amazing talent, what's the point? Why are you here?
They have talent like similar to Clemson, Alabama, Ohio State, yet those 3 teams
are not as good. They're not on the same level
in the last 6 years, and they
straight up not on the same level. No, but and that's all I've got.
All right.
Them.
Well, I have another repeat. I have Iowa State at 9. Matt Campbell, one of the best 3 coaches in the country, probably top 5 at the least. He's turned them into a darling, a Cinderella in the college football world. They return a lot of talent on the field. Basically, their entire offense is back, so it's going to be an experienced team. They're a dark horse playoff team, although I think them making the playoffs requires them beating Oklahoma twice this year, which is a very tough ask. They'll play them in the regular season, and then they'd play them in the Big 12 championship game. I don't see them beat Oklahoma twice, so I don't see them making the playoffs this year. But they're still going to be really good. They're going to be fun to watch.
It's the tough part about having an uneven conference, unfortunately.
Yep. All right.
So my number 10, unless you had more.
No, I was going to do my 10, but yeah.
Oh, well, I thought your 10 was. Oh, no, shoot, sorry.
9 was. Iowa State was my number 9. My number 10 is the Cincinnati Bearcats. Cincinnati, they return a lot of these teams. One of the reasons they're so good is they're all returning so much talent. Obviously, Desmond Ritter is going to be coming back to lead the offense. He's like I feel like if he busts out of the gate and has like, especially with that Notre Dame Indiana game like early in the season, he could like sneaky slide into that Heisman conversation. I'm not saying that he's gonna be consistently, but like I'm not even. I mean, it's a very,
if they're
very
undefeated and they make the playoffs and he's played well, because he's in the conversation.
He is their offense. Like, there's not really a lot of other weapons, like really, really good weapons of that caliber on that offense. But the defense is the call card of this team. We talked about it in the State of the Independence about Notre Dame. They do lose Marcus Freeman as a defensive coordinator going into the season, which is a big loss. But I think they still should be really good on defense. So I have Cincinnati at 10.
Okay. My number 10 is Oregon.
Okay.
For a lot of the reasons that you mentioned. You can't take all of the talent from the West Coast, literally all of the talent from the West Coast, and put them on one team and then leave them out of the top 10. Right?
Yeah, I agree.
That's kind of the way I feel about it. I don't think they beat Ohio State. And so that was kind of like my determining factor to put them this low, because I think that they don't beat Ohio State, and that pretty much blows the Pac-12's opportunity to get into the playoffs.
Not if USC goes undefeated.
Which I don't think is going to happen.
I'm on that Trojan bandwagon.
All right. But maybe they will beat Ohio State, and then the Pac-12 is suddenly a power conference. I don't know.
This might be a breakout year for the Pac-12. I mean,
it might be. It might be, and it's setting up that it could be.
According to the comment section on our Utah video, Utah is going to go 12.
Yeah, according to the comments, Utah is going to win a national championship. But I don't have them even in my 25.
So could there be 3? Could there be 3 Pac-12 teams that make the playoffs? I mean, like Oregon, USC, and Utah all making the playoffs.
I don't know, and maybe BYU too.
You never know, man.
West of the Mississippi.
That's why they play the games.
Yeah. So my 11 is Florida, and I put Florida here because I see them being better than any of the other teams on my list, but not better than anybody above my list. I just like Florida is what it is. They since Urban Meyer left, they are a team that's pretty good, but not great.
Yeah.
And I don't see a reason that they should be like any better than they were last year.
Fair enough. Well, and especially because they lose the best receiver in Kyle Pitts, the best receiver in the country last year probably, and then
Yep.
really good quarterback in Kyle Trask. So I have Notre Dame at number 11. We talked about them extensively in our independence. I just am not really excited about Notre Dame. I think this is kind of a rebuilding year. They aren't like Alabama or Clemson where they can rebuild on the fly, reload on the fly, and turn.
They have to have
so
smart
quickly.
people according to their schools. So
yeah, so
smart people aren't always talented.
I couldn't really put them lower than this because they are going to be good, but they're not going to be in the playoff conversation if you ask me.
Well, I have them lower than this, so
Yeah,
I can put them lower than this.
I couldn't put them lower. I'll go for number 12. At number 12, I put Wisconsin.
Okay.
Wisconsin's coming off of its best recruiting class of all time. They're going to be. I just have faith in this Wisconsin team that they're going to be pretty good this year. They're going to be the second best team in the Big Ten. They're going to reclaim that Big Ten West that has kind of been open,
tossed around a little bit.
Yeah.
I also have Wisconsin at 12.
So so we agree at two places so far: number 1 and number 12.
Yeah, number 1 and number 12. So I think Wisconsin is the only thing that is the only road bump that Ohio State will have this year, really, besides Oregon. I'm confident that they will meet in the Big Ten championship. This team wasn't great last year, but they really got hit by COVID. They lost games and lost a ton of players, and they ended up playing games with 10 players. They have a returning quarterback in Grant Mertz who can be very good athletically, probably the best quarterback that athletically that they have had since Russell Wilson. They have a neutral site matchup with Notre Dame in Chicago. I think they win that game. They have home games against Michigan and Penn State. I think they win both those games. If I'm betting on them, I think they win the games. I don't know if they roll into the Big Ten championship undefeated because it's Wisconsin. They always end up losing to somebody.
Yeah.
But I might put a few dollars on the fact that they could roll into the Big Ten championship undefeated.
Yeah, I could see that happening. I could see them giving a challenge to Ohio State in that game too.
I think Ohio State wins. That's why I have them as low. But yeah. All right. So for 13, I have Notre Dame.
Okay.
For basically all of the reasons that Dan mentioned, I have too many questions to really put this team much higher than where I have them here.
Yeah.
They
talking this out, I'm kind of regretting putting them as high as they did because now I'm thinking, well, they're probably going to lose to Wisconsin. I don't know.
Yeah, there's a chance they lose to USC. And so that's the thing with their schedule. They play tough teams, and I don't see because last year I don't think they were that good. The ACC was Clemson, and that's it.
Yeah.
And
they had their backup quarterback was in too.
Yeah, and so they beat Clemson with a backup quarterback. I don't think that they deserve to be in the playoffs, so I don't understand why everyone has them as high as they are. Notre Dame is not going to be as good as they were last year, plain and simple. So where they fall is the real question, but I think they'll end the season ranked, probably in 13 to 17.
That's fair. So I need to readjust this on the fly. I don't know what I was thinking putting Notre Dame at number 11, especially because my 12 and 13 teams, I would definitely pick both of them over Notre Dame. So my fault putting my hand up. I'm going to move Wisconsin up to number 11. And then what I put down as my number 13 team is the USC Trojans. I'm going to move them up to number 12. And then Notre Dame goes down to 13. A little adjustment on the fly.
All right, so talk about your number 12 team.
So my number 12 team is USC. I've been on USC for a while now. I think this is going to be the return to USC being on the national stage and not just being USC thinks they're back. It's not going to be a laughing stock anymore. They got a real legit quarterback who's going to carry them to the Pac-12 championship game, and they're going to play Oregon, and that's going to be a hell of a game. USC Oregon in the Pac-12 championship would be a great game.
Yes, I agree. Can I just go ahead and say my 14 because I don't know who or where we're at.
Yeah, we're on 14 now, both of us.
All right, we're on 14. I also have Southern Cal. Okay. For the same reasons, and I say the same thing about the Pac-12 championship game.
All right, I have Florida at 14. I'm a little lower, but basically the same reason. There's going to be a lot of turnover and a lot of new stuff compared to last season. Don't trust them as much. Number 15.
At 15.
I have the U. I have the Miami Hurricanes at 15. Just because I like Derek King. I think Derek King's a sneaky Heisman pick as well.
I also have the U at number 15. So look at us. Well, we no longer agree on number 12.
12 is no longer Wisconsin. 12 is Wisconsin's 11 now. Sorry.
So, I have Miami here. I think this team is good. They're talent loaded, but unfortunately, I think that Miami is one of those teams that suffers similar in the way that Oklahoma does to a lesser degree, in that they don't have their own stadium, so I think that hurts them in getting talent. Now, I think it hurts them in getting talent, but they are always in the top 10 for talent-wise. But then they don't develop their players, and I think that it shows. They lost to Oklahoma State last year in the Cheez-Its Bowl. It was close, but it was still a loss to a Big 12 team, and I think the ACC is a better conference than the Big 12.
Yeah.
And I don't know. They did what I expected them to do last year, lose some games they should have won. They probably should have beat North Carolina, and they lost by a lot.
It's really a tough start this season. That they start with Alabama. That's gonna be
and that's the thing is that their season doesn't look good. And I don't know. That's my number 15. We agree on number 15, and I think they're there for a reason.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's our power rankings. You want to quickly kind of run through our playoff picks real quick, and then we'll.
Yeah. So I think that Alabama and Ohio State are there for sure.
Okay.
Like, if I'm a betting man, I'm putting Alabama and Ohio State. And that kind of leaves... Honestly, I think the Big 12 gets left out this year.
Okay.
So I'm kind of balancing this between, like, maybe Oregon... Maybe. I mean, it's either Clemson or North Carolina for me from the ACC. Oregon, I think we'll see how Cincinnati does. If Cincinnati's undefeated, I still don't think they make it in because I don't think that they'll get the respect. So, like, if I'm being realistic, my top 4 is at the end of the season is Ohio State, or is Alabama, Ohio State, Clemson, unfortunately, and then I think Oregon.
Okay.
That's like who I'm going with. Texas A&M also could like sneak out Oregon if like they only lost Alabama.
Yeah. All right, I like it. My picks, I have number 1, Alabama. Number 2, I have Clemson. Number 3, Oklahoma. And then number 4, I have Texas A&M. That's the 4 teams I think are going to make the playoffs.
So who do you have as a long shot? Because I think we each need to have a long shot.
We've touched on a couple. I can run through. So like North Carolina, I don't know if that's a long shot, but North Carolina, I'd say USC would be a long shot for me. We'd probably put Cincinnati into the long shot category. If I had to pick one, I feel like I'm gonna ride with USC. USC is giving me my long shot pick.
So here's the thing for me. If I'm betting money, I want to get the best bang for my dollar. So I think Cincinnati is the farthest of any of these teams of actually making it. So I would bet money on them making it, because if they did, the payout's going to be massive.
Yeah.
that being said, who I actually think has a shot is North Carolina, Iowa State.
Yeah, I think those are
Those are
more.
my long
I
shots.
don't even know if that qualifies as a long shot because like you can like seriously talk yourself into like them actually being one of the favorites to make it this year.
You could talk Iowa State up.
I mean, yeah, they were. What they finished
I mean,
last
yeah,
year?
I guess you could talk them up.
I I
I,
I think we'd probably just. I think long shot is like somebody who's like outside the top 10 and like
oh,
you
okay.
could
Well,
see.
then I guess Miami. But like,
Okay, Miami's a good one. I like that.
I mean, they could. They could go and beat
Hey,
Clemson. They could beat
I
North Carolina. I
dear
believe they could do it.
dear
Derek King's an excellent quarterback. They have pieces to do it.
he could
I
go
just
and win
don't
the
think they will.
Heisman and yeah,
Yeah, I think they could. I just don't know that they will.
fair enough.
But like outside of, because I don't think my top four is actually the ones that are going to make the playoffs.
So I have the
I think,
current odds from SBD. I don't know. I just googled it. Sports betting dime. I don't even know where that. I've never heard of it before, but they have odds for to make the college football playoff. Clemson minus 700. Alabama minus 370, which is weird. Clemson's a minus 7. I guess it's ACC. It's easier. I
yeah,
guess.
easier to win.
Yeah. Alabama minus 370, Ohio State minus 225, Oklahoma minus 210. Those are your four favorites. Georgia at plus 170, Texas A&M plus 475, Iowa State plus 500, Miami is plus 1200, USC is plus 1000. So Miami's a longer shot than USC. LSU's up here at plus 1100. I don't know.
Maybe. They've done things like that before. Came out of nowhere. Where does Cincinnati fall?
Plus 1400.
Okay, so they're the longest, right?
Yeah, they're a long shot.
Yeah. All right, Cincinnati. That's who I'm going with.
I'll
That's who
accept
I'm
it.
putting my money on.
I'll accept it.
Like, put $5 on it, and how much money am I making?
What was it? Plus 1400. What's 14 times 5? 28, 56, 70. So it'd be like $7,000. No, not 7,000.
Yeah.
$700 for $5.
Yeah, that's pretty good to me.
Yeah.
Wait, so is it 1,400 times the 5?
Yeah, kind of.
So it'd be 7,000.
Well, it's not. It's take off 1 0. Take off one of the zeros.
Okay. So $700 for a $5. Yeah. That's what I'm betting. But if I actually wanted to win the bet, North Carolina.
To make the playoffs?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that you're saying if you just wanted to make a bet that it's got like good odds that you think will actually happen. Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
If I had to make a pick, I go Texas A&M. I picked them to make it. They're plus 475. So.
Right. Yeah, I'm thinking like bet outside of the top 5 of any team that's going to make the playoffs. I think it's North Carolina. I think they have the easiest path to the playoffs.
Fair enough.
Of any of those teams. I think Iowa State has the toughest path.
Yeah.
I think honestly Iowa State's path is tougher than Cincinnati's path.
I'd agree.
So like, yeah. So we'll see what happens. I'm really excited to start the season. We're going on like 2-3 weeks now.
Yeah, we're getting close, man.
All right.
I think that's gonna be pretty much it. That's all I have for today's
That's
show.
all I have.
All right.
I appreciate it. And we appreciate all of you watching. If you'd give us a like and follow and check out our Twitter, social media pages, we'd appreciate it. Dan, you have anything else?
Nope. Thanks. Go like us. Share this with your friends. Comment. Tell us where we're wrong. Have a good one.
Bye.